The Friday Rugby Preview with Stuart Cameron.
Hello and welcome to the Friday Rugby Preview, and as usual I'm joined by Robin Purdie, and we'll start by looking at the only game involving a local club last week, and after three of our other proposed games were called off, it was fourth time lucky as we headed to Hartree Mill to take in Biggar versus Gala. And Robin, that was not the original destination, was it?
No, it wasn't, Stuart. We were on the Edinburgh bypass when we found out that Currie v Hawick was cancelled. Don't think we were quite as annoyed as those from Hawick probably were, as we were able to divert at Fairmile Head and head straight down to Biggar, where all credit to Biggar and Gala for just cracking on and getting that game played.
Well, Gala, it was interesting because they were 18-0 down at half-time. Very unfortunate to have a runaway interception try, of course, just before the interval, but they did come out firing in the second half, and I think just like the Waverley Cup at the Green Yards, they were leaving it far too late and wanted another 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, I would agree. There was two tries late in the first half for Biggar that really broke Gala's resolve, I guess, and the picture at half-time was very different to what it looked like it was going to be. Gala had sort of soaked up what Biggar had thrown at them, and you wondered when Biggar were almost going to punch themselves out, and Gala were always going to have a purple patch in the game, and yeah, they just went down the tunnel 18-0 down all of a sudden, and it's a long way back from there, but credit to them, they certainly came out swinging in the second half. They got a couple of decent tries and they were right back in it, and a couple of breaks here and there, they could have won that game. But Biggar were penalised off the park as well, so you don't see that many games where a team that concedes 16 penalties to the other team's 8 actually goes on and wins the game. So yeah, Biggar are a decent outfit. I'm at a loss as to how they started the season so badly, but fair play to them, they've turned it around and they're marching up the table.
They certainly are. In fact, they climbed above Gala after that victory. And so too this week, and you're going to make another trip up to Maleny Park tomorrow. Take two to see if Currie and Hawick can finally get played. Before we discuss that though, let's hear from Matty Douglas, Hawick head coach, and his thoughts.
It's a huge game in context of the season. I stated that last week, and both teams are vying for a home semi-final, and this is the start of our tough run. We have Currie on Saturday, and then we head to Musselburgh, Heriot and Selkirk, so we know what's at stake. Look, we're not we're not taking anything for granted. We know how hard this will be and how hard we're going to have to work, and probably how much our squad depth will be tested. But look, we're obviously missing Jay Linton at the minute through suspension, but Tom Hope and Rudy McLeod will come back into the selection process this week. We've got a lot of boys training, so we feel we've got a squad there that can deal with 4 away trips on the bounce, and we'll take it head on. We're excited to get going again this week and try and put in a massive performance. Squad selection wise, we'll as I said, we've got Rudy and Tom back in the mix this week to pick from, and everybody's put their hand up last night, so we'll see what we go with this week. But again, it'll be another strong squad heading to Maleny, and we'll just get excited for it. We'll bring lots of energy and give it our best shot.
Obviously disappointing for everyone involved that the game didn't go ahead, but it's time to refocus once again and sort of reset.
Yeah, they get a crack at it again a mere 7 days later. And yeah, it would have been disappointing last weekend. Probably should never have been on from the get-go, is what I understand. But yeah, tough fixture. We spoke about it last week, and then the teams came out on the Friday, and my word, Currie were fully loaded. That's as strong as I've seen Currie this season, especially up front. So if that same Currie team is going to play this weekend, it's a tough assignment for Hawick, and no mistake. If Hawick can come through this, if they can pick up a victory of any kind, a 6-3, whatever it may be, then result of the season, as far as Hawick are concerned, this will be a tough mission.
Because Currie have lost 3, but all on the road. They're actually unbeaten at the moment, 6 out of 6 at Maleny Park.
Yeah, and we spoke last week about that period where they lost the 3 games away from home, and it looked like a bit of a sticky patch, but then the likes of Charlie Brett came back in, and Gregor Christie's came back in, and like I say, they just look like they've got a really powerful set of forwards. Their hooker, who I think's a Peebles lad, he's performing really well at the moment. Going to be a great battle of the hookers there, whoever turns out for Hawick. So yeah, this looks like a tough assignment, but if there's any team that will go to Maleny Park and turn up and do a job, it's Hawick.
No Jay Linton, of course. We keep mentioning Jay Linton. Of course, it's not a suspension that's done by weeks, it's done by games, which is why he's still suspended.
Yeah, Hawick are the best equipped squad in the land to deal with a player of that ability and stature coming out of the reckoning. But at the same time, he comes out of any squad and it's a blow even for Hawick. But Hawick have got cover there. We spoke last week about Sutherland. He's a really good player. Been very impressed by him this season. But yeah, Curry have got a good back row, and I noticed they've moved their flanker Cardosi to number 8, and they've put Davis onto the flank. Now Cardosi, I've been really impressed by him this season. I think he's made the offside line team of the week about 5 times. I think him and Jay Linton share it. And number 8 are in the back row there. But yeah, he's a bit like Linton in that he's really explosive, and yeah, good player, and Hawick will need to deal with him.
Huge game, obviously, for both teams. But how does it affect the table if Hawick win, and how does it affect the table if Curry win?
Normally, I'd say if Hawick win, then it's hard to see them not finishing top of the pile, to be honest, which would be massive in terms of the odds on them making the final, of course. But they've got 3 away games. They've got Musselburgh, Heriots and Selkirk to go to, all imminently winnable, but banana skins among them as well. So yeah, if Hawick beat Curry, it's hard to see them not finishing top. If Curry win and Hawick get nothing, then there's a bit more of a shake-up. But Hawick have just got that wee bit of luxury that if Hawick pick up a bonus point or 2, or even if if Curry win and they deprive Curry of getting a try-scoring bonus point, then Hawick are still in the driving seat. Their destiny's still in their own hands unless they lose and Curry get 5 points.
We may not know, of course, who the 4th team's going to be until February the 17th at least, because obviously Kelso's game, which was supposed to be going ahead at Glasgow Hawks last week, that's now moved to February the 17th. So as I understand it, they were looking at maybe having the semi-finals on that day. They're going to have to think again now, unless, of course, Kelso lose in the next couple of weeks or so, and that match suddenly becomes a dead rubber.
Yeah, if that game's a dead rubber, then they'll probably press ahead with the semi-finals. Here's hoping that, of course, that won't be the case and Kelso will be involved. That would be just absolutely incredible, in my opinion, if Kelso make the playoffs in their first season back in the division for goodness knows how long. So yeah, the battle for 4th is going to transpire over the coming 2 or 3 weeks, and it will remain to be seen as to whether or not it goes to the 17th.
So what are we looking at? Putting our borders hats on now. Do we want Hawick to finish second and avoid Kelso, and then we get a Hawick-Kelso final, or do we just go and hope that we get a Hawick-Kelso semi-final?
Yeah, a Hawick-Kelso semi-final. There's a lot of water to go under the bridge, as I say before that, but a Hawick-Kelso semi-final guarantees Borderers a team in the final, and yeah, I'd probably hang my hat on that, to be honest.
OK, well, we'll be keeping one eye on the other Premier game tomorrow, which is at Raeburn Place, between Embrackies and Glasgow Hawks, because this is literally a must-win game for Ackies if they want to be involved in those playoffs.
Biggest game of the season for the Ackies. They need to win this, and they probably need 5 points, and it's as straightforward as that as far as they're concerned.
Well, we're on Rugby Radio tomorrow at 1:30, coming live from the Guides, of which more later in the programme, but there's quite a few games kicking off at 2 o'clock, including Hawick against Curry, so we'll be bringing you updates around the country as usual as those matches develop. But let's go International 1, and Gala face Melrose for the 3rd time this season, but the first time at Netherdale. Now, Melrose have won both matches at the Green Yards, but Melrose haven't beaten Gala at Netherdale for 6 years. So plenty of intrigue there as second plays 8th. And first, let's hear from Gala Director of Rugby, Ewan Swinton, and we'll follow that up with Melrose head coach Ian Chisholm.
We'll welcome Melrose to Netherdale on Saturday with a good deal of confidence. We will be strong in the forwards. We have guys like Cammy Pate, who is playing fantastically well at the moment. Glenn Brock came back in the second half on Saturday and made a real difference to the game. He really turned things around in terms of the scrummaging and a lot of the breaching in the forwards. He was very, very much on the front foot, so we expect a lot from him on Saturday. He was missing for the Boxing Day game, so looking forward to seeing how he can influence how things go. In the backs, we are uncertain of the lineup as I speak because we are affected by quite a number of injuries. So we'll see what lineup comes out on Saturday, but it will come out confident. We're at home. We are confident that the forwards will do well and the backs will make much better use of the ball that they get. That being said, we know that we're up against a tough side in Melrose. They have excellent halfbacks in the shape of Dougie Crawford and Struan Hutchison, and they will certainly try to orchestrate the moves to get the better of us. Melrose versus Gala is always a ding-dong battle. It's always fairly ferociously fought. It doesn't matter whether it's for Waverley Cup, whether it's for league points, or whether it's just in the Border League. The two sides will go hard at each other and will provide really good entertainment on Saturday. So what the hope for the game is that a big crowd will come up to Netherdale on Saturday. They'll enjoy the game and then they'll enjoy each other's company afterwards. Melrose and Gala are great rivals but great friends as well, as it should be in the Borders. We will have a good battle on the pitch and then share some chat afterwards. So looking forward to a great day on Saturday.
Going into this game, there's not an awful lot that we want to change in terms of what we're doing in our half, in terms of what we're doing in their half. We just need to do it better. Squad-wise, we're hoping to be pretty similar. The difficulty for us is, we had a real 23-man effort and we're now having to drop to 20 players, so there's going to be 3 players that are pretty disappointed not to be involved, and a few players that we need to look out for. Elliot Ruthven, he had a wee injury to his foot. Donald Crawford, he's had the lurgy for about 4 weeks now. Donald's just coming back from that. We're looking at Test 2 against Gala at Netherdale. We haven't won there since 2018, and the boys counted out last night. It's 1,084 days since Melrose have won at Netherdale. So that's a real strength for Gala, and we want to reset that clock and make sure that we can cling on to second place. But I may be wrong in saying that, not just cling on to second place, but put a bit of distance between us, because look, we know we're good enough. We just need to be consistent and make sure that our effort levels match what the jersey deserves.
Well, two very positive people there talking about one of the great fixtures on the local calendar, and it's strange to talk about Melrose in second place, Gala in 8th, when literally a couple of weeks ago they were neck and neck together. But it just shows you the competitiveness of this division, with the huge exception, of course, of runaway champions here, 28 points clear of Melrose, which is absolutely staggering. But what's your gut feeling about this one?
Gala have got home advantage. Melrose done a number on Gala earlier in the season. The Waverley Cup was a bit tighter, but it's similar to last season. That's what happened, and then Gala done a number on Melrose at Netherdale. I don't read too much into the table in this division this season, Stuart, if I'm being honest. All the teams bar Ayr are mid-table teams, given how it's there's Ayr and the rest are also Rans. There are no prizes, in my opinion, at least my humble opinion, no prizes for finishing second this season. There's no great achievement in that as far as I'm concerned, but there is the local bragging rights. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a ding-dong. These two teams both look fairly evenly matched. I think Gala look stronger now than they did a few weeks ago. I really like Cammy Pate as a second row. He doesn't seem to play all that often, out of his work commitments or whatever, but I'm always really impressed with him when I see him, and I think he adds something as he did against Biggar. And they've obviously got Keddy back in there as well, so their forward pack has been strengthened. But Melrose have got some really good operators as well. Ewan mentioned the Melrose halfbacks, and if they can get front football, then they're going to be a danger to anybody.
Well, we've mentioned the Premiership, we've mentioned National 1, but let's go into National 2, because the big game is top of the table Peebles against third place Newton Stuart. Now, they've had some ding-dong battles over the years as well. It was Newton Stuart who won at Bladnoch Park earlier in the season, but here's Peebles boss Graham Patterson.
So the squad is fairly healthy to pick from, as you'd expect after a number of weeks off. We've got some agreements with the Academy and conversations with Bert Grigg at the Academy with regards to some inter-district under-18 games this weekend. So both Ross Wolfenden and Callum McRobert will be available to us. Good conversations around about their minutes, how much game time they've got, what their individual development needs are, and where they need to be seen to be playing in order to progress them as individuals, but also taking into consideration our needs as a club and also the district under 18s as well. So both of them will be available for selection for us. And looking back at the Newton Stuart game down there, that was probably our most disappointing performance. And I think that's what's driving the players on to this. The training has been really key in a couple of elements which we drew from that game. But I feel we've got a much better balance to our game now than that last game. It allows us to apply a different type of pressure to Newton Stuart. I think it'll be a really tight game initially, and I'm hoping that it'll be the tipping point usually around about that sort of 55-minute mark. Is a lot of these games in the top teams are playing is about that sort of time of the game where there's a tipping point somewhere and something will happen in that game to maybe tip it to one side or the other. And I'm confident that our guys will be pushing that weight towards us, and we'll get the positive result that we're looking for.
A few interesting points there that Graham has been talking about there. We'll come to the Ross Wolverhampton thing in a second, but last week you were hoping that Peebles wouldn't get any injuries from their Border League match, which of course in the end, deep breath all round because the game was off. I mean, basically it was a full team that they'd selected minus, say, Jack Harrison, but in the end it was called off. Peebles fans, as I say, would have been delighted that no injuries from that would affect this game.
Yeah, I was delighted when I heard that. To be honest, from the point of view of wanting Peebles to do well, I've really been impressed with Peebles. I've really liked the way they've gone about their business season. I really want to see them go up. So I was delighted when I heard their game was off. The absolute last thing you wanted to hear on Saturday night past was that a Carrier or a Brown or somebody like that had taken a dull one and were unable to play in this game, because it is a massive game. This is the season definer ultimately, and Peebles will go into this, as he mentioned there, in good fettle with a full squad to pick from.
Now, he mentioned Ross Wolverhampton and of course this arrangement with the academy, one of your pet subjects.
Well, I was so exasperated when I heard them say that. I mean, please tell me there's not even a discussion to be had. When it comes to a player's development, a young player, please tell me there's no discussion to be had between playing in a massive season-defining, top-of-the-table clash in adult rugby against playing in an under-18s district game. Please tell me that's not even a conversation to be had.
But it is.
Oh, well, I don't know. If they haven't to restrict his minutes because of that, then yeah, I'm done.
OK, we will explore that on Saturday a bit more with Graham Patterson. Always worth discussing because not everybody agrees what the right way is to look after players. So, all in all, we've got the full Peebles team out. How's it going to go?
I'd have to say home advantage, Peebles. That last game at Last Wade there seems like an eternity ago, but that must have given them a massive lift. The fact that they won it and the manner in which they gutsed it out, that was so gutsy with Jack Harrison to the absolute fore. That they can't not be going into this with the utmost confidence, and I think that will see them over the line, and I'd like to think there could be in an ideal world there'll be a bonus point there as well.
Well, my own take on Peebles is that we're seeing a more clinical, more professional, more streetwise team than I think we've ever seen in the red and white jerseys, playing with confidence, winning games that they should be winning, and going into every game with the right attitude. And I think the top 2 inches have really come to the fore with Peebles.
Oh, definitely, they've moved on, absolutely. The likes of Matty Carrier coming back and being around the place, not just from a playing perspective, being around the place and the standards that he'll be able to help set can only be a good thing. But they've got this unbelievably good youth system, and going forward, if Peebles can get promoted and then some more of those boys are coming into the mix, then that can only be a good thing. And yeah, it's almost kind of where they need to be. And if they do get there, and let's hope that they do, then from a Borders perspective, National 1's going to be a good place to be next season.
Well, just before Christmas there was 1 week where it all went Peebles' way. We saw Newton Stuart losing at Aberdeen Grammar, which is a result I never saw coming, and a lot of people wouldn't have either. It set them back. It means that this is a real must-win game for them because they've played one more game than Peebles, of course, so this could be a fatal blow for their chances if they lose.
They've played a game more than Peebles. If Newton Stuart lose this, then their promotion race is run, unfortunately for them.
Which means we're down to 2.
Which means they're down to 2, and yeah, we'll need to see where Falkirk are away to Stumel, I think, this week. Now, Stumel have got themselves into mid-table from a really struggling position, notwithstanding the fact they were sanctioned 3 points as well.
Yeah.
Banana skin there for Falkirk.
Well, at the other end of the table, 9th place Berwick face 10th placed Aberdeen Grammar, and almost certainly one of those 2 clubs are going to be relegated. Let's hear from Berwick forwards coach Paul Pringle.
We were fortunate enough this week to have the Thompson brothers back from Kelso for the week, so Ewan will definitely be involved. Ewan brings great energy and line speed and drive and determination, so I think that'll be a real welcome addition to us. James will come straight in at 13. We've all seen James on the circuit. He's a very, very dangerous player with ball in hand, and he just controls the game well. He can slot in there and help Webby at 10 as well, and plus he's very good at bringing, our real strong players like Jack Dalrymple and Aidan Rosie into the game and creating opportunities for them. So by and large, we're really happy with the squad this week. And then really it's just everything focused on Saturday. We're taking one game at a time. We've got 4 big home games coming in the last 6. In my view, they're all very winnable, especially, with our record at home. So that's the target, win the 4 home games and the rest will take care of itself. So yeah, new year and just looking forward to getting that first game at Screm and hopefully, get some points on the board and get a bit of a distance between ourselves and Aberdeen.
Well, he certainly sounds confident, and he has a right to be as well, with 4 home games left. And like last season, Berwick should never even be near the relegation zone, but results have happened just like last year, where they got very close but they didn't get over the line, and that was them in the bottom section of that lethal 6 down or whatever it was last season, and they managed to escape on the last day of the season up at Penny Pit against Preston Lodge. They've done more or less the same again this year. They should have won a lot more matches, and they're now in this place. But now's the time where they really got to put the foot on the accelerator against Aberdeen Grammar.
The 4 home games could be massive, starting of course with this one against the only team that's below them. I mean, you're right that they've lost 10 games out of 12, and yet their points difference is only minus 110. Now, that's not that bad for a team that have lost 10 out of 12, and it just kind of exemplifies the fact, as you said, that the games have been tight. But yeah, they need to pick up a couple of wins from somewhere, and no better place to start on Saturday. The Thompson brothers coming back in under, I think it's the dual registration, that will be massive for them. Good players, big lads, and it's going to be a ding-dong.
Absolutely. Well, I have confidence. I think Berwick will win that one and go on to have a comfortable end of the season. Let's hope so anyway. Let's go into the East Leagues then. And in Division 1, Langham are away at Portobello. We'd love to bring you Craig Hislop's comments, but unfortunately we haven't been able to make contact with him this week, despite many attempts. So we'll chat about this game instead. No promotion or relegation issues for Langham, and sort of settling in that new division for them. You almost feel as if they're preparing for a big shot next season. Yeah,
they've equipped themselves pretty well. They've never really been in any real danger of being relegated, having come up last season. They're pretty comfortable in 4th. I think that's a pretty good effort. And yeah, they're Portobello second bottom of the table. They could do with a win, so they'll be gunning for Langham on Saturday up there at the coast. But yeah, pretty impressive by Langham, and they should be looking to kick on next season and hopefully a promotion push.
And of course in East League 2, Duns against Dalkeith, and the Hoyk derby between Hoyk Quins and Hoyk Lindeen being played at Wilton Lodge. We can hear from both clubs now. Gary Alexander from Hoyk Lindeen, and first Adam Hall, the former skipper with Hoyk Quins.
It's been a while since we had a game. It's been a long break, but it's certainly, I think, done us good. It was a tough end to 2023 for us. We struggled with injuries, players with work commitments leading up to Christmas, and meant that we couldn't really get a strong competitive side together for away games. And we were on the receiving end of a couple of heavy defeats, so it was tough going and tough on the boys that played those games. But the break's done us good, and the enthusiasm's back in the club. Training numbers are up. I think that's got a lot to do with who our opponents are this week, but we're hoping we can keep that feeling going right the way through to the end of the season and finish strongly. We know what these games are like. It was a scrappy affair the last time we met. We weren't entirely happy with our performance that day. Our discipline let us down, and we left a few scores out there, but what was important is we came out on the right end of the result. We're hoping to put in a better performance this time round, sort out our discipline, and hopefully once again come out as winners. But we know we can't take the Lindeen lightly. They've probably managed to keep the core of their side together for most of these games. They had a little warm-up game last week, so they'll be ready to go, and we know what to expect from them. And in these kind of border derbies, or local Hoyk derbies, played in a lot of them in the past, and it's an old cliche that form goes out the window, and it does sometimes just come down to who turns up in the day, who keeps a cool head. So we know what to expect. We've plenty of experience in the side, and we're confident that we're going to come out on the right side of the result this weekend.
Saturday it's Hoyk Harlequins at Wilton Lodge Park, local derby. Always gets the blood pumping. We lost out, it was 23-13 at the Volunteer earlier in the season. It was a pretty close game, but they were just that wee bit more streetwise than us on the day. We haven't played a league game since early December against Dunbar, although we managed to get a friendly in last week thanks to Earlston, who travelled to the Hawk. Came out in top 24-10, although we just had the bare essentials with 15 plus Coach Simon Spalding on the bench, but it was really worthwhile to blow the cobwebs away. Hopefully that'll put us in better position for Saturday. The last league game that I mentioned against Dunbar, it was a really Syrian. We were well in the game. It's pretty tight towards the end, but we lost 3 late tries, put a kind of false picture on the scoreboard, and it came at a cost with Kieran Murphy picked up a really bad leg injury. He's recovering well, but I think the downside is it probably wouldn't play again. So our best wishes go to Kieran. We also got a red card for Liam Sharkey that day, and also Matty Higgin played really well this season in the back row. He got an injury against Kirstorfin at the end of November. He's on the way to recovery, but I think this week is at least a week too early for him. We'll miss 1 or 2, but we'll certainly give it a really good go up the park.
I'm sure they will. You can't beat a derby, can you? Particularly in Hawick. Of course, it's no bearing on the results at all. They're both mid-table. There's not going to be any relegation or promotion worries for them, but they won't care. They're playing each other.
Oh yeah, everything goes out the window in a Hawick derby. It's great to see. I actually really like to be at this game and see them go hammer and tongue at each other. And
you might end up there. You never know.
You never know. I'll go do a report if there's other games frozen off quite happily. But yeah, the Quins, the Lindeen, great old clubs. We've spoken before about how you always seem to have a better side out in these divisions when you play a home game. Well, it's kind of, nobody has to travel for this one, so they should hopefully both be at as full a strength as they can be. And yeah, I think there's a few old stagers in that Quinn squad, the Fred Stevensons, etc. So yeah, be a good occasion up there, up the park as well.
Well, into East League 3, Galloway M, they're on the road at Edinburgh Northern, while the big match is at Bangham. That's where Trinity Accies at the top of the table will take on second placed Earlston, who will be desperate to win this one. Here's head coach Cammy Hill.
Only a win is really going to keep our hopes of promotion alive, so it's a must-win game. Obviously it's really tight at the top, with us, Trinity, Northern all fighting for that top spot. So we know this has to be one of our best performances of the season if we're going to come away with any points. From our previous meeting earlier in the season, we know exactly how Trinity want to play. They caused us a lot of problems in the back line. Obviously we've went away and worked on that area a lot over the last few months, so it's going to be really good to see how far we've come in terms of rectifying that. And obviously Trinity is going to be the perfect test. Last weekend we had a really good run out against Hawick Lindeen, in which a lot of the lads stood up and showed that we're not that far away from being able to compete at that level. For a young side, it's really pleasing to see they're starting to get that belief now. It had kind of dwindled away a little bit. Obviously we're losing at Lismore and Edinburgh Northern before Christmas, but it's good to see they're starting to get a bit of bounce back in their step now. A lot of good sessions throughout Christmas. We actually had 10 guys down at Berwick on Boxing Day to help fulfil a third team fixture, and we had 2 guys that were stepping up to the ones to give them a hand. So it was really good to see that there's lads there that are capable of playing a lot higher level. Squad wise, going into this weekend, we're going to have a few late fitness tests, but we're still going up there with a really strong squad, and I'm quietly confident that we can go up there and get the result we need and keep our title challenge alive.
Head coach Cammy Hill of Earlston, and I have to say I really enjoy hearing from the East League clubs, giving them a platform each week to give us a bit of knowledge of what's going on in these East Leagues. And of course they were in a big lead before Christmas, weren't they? Going well, everything looked as if they were going to be runaway winners of the league. They were winning all the games, and then the wheels came off, and a couple of times they were nilled as well, which was obviously a bit of a concern. It's all down to them now. Can they regroup?
You hope so. Come on, Earlston. That's what I'm going to say. It's the very definition of a must-win game. Cammy mentioned it there in his piece, and yeah, they have to win. It's as simple as that.
Well, whatever happens on Rugby Radio tomorrow, Hugh Brown will be going to Bangham. He'll be reporting from the 2 o'clock kickoff Trinity Accies against Earlston. But that's it for today. Rugby Radio tomorrow comes direct from the Gites in Peebles, where we'll have full commentary with Dale Clancy and Sam Matthews of Peebles versus Newton Stewart in National 2. Such an important game, that one. And plenty of news throughout the day from the many games kicking off at 2 o'clock as well, including Curry versus Hawick, Berwick against Aberdeen Grammar, and that Earlston match at Trinity Accies in East League 3. We'll also be right across the Gala Melrose game in National 1 and all the other games across the country. Hope you can join us at 1:30 for 3.5 hours of live rugby. But for now, from Robin and me, a very good night.